Usually we see cops running behind criminals and arresting people. They never know, but in some cases, they have to arrest their silly friends. Stay tuned, you will get the idea. The close-knit community of a relatively small town, where even the members of the police force are familiar with one another and the intricacies of their personal lives. One of the difficulties of living in a small town is having to deal with situations like this one. Buck is being accused by the local sheriff of driving a Chevrolet pickup truck without a valid driver's license. The allegations were made in a recent report by the sheriff. Buck is in a difficult position because virtually every law enforcement officer in the city is aware of the condition of his driver's license.
Goddamn late morality, and goddamn, I had no other way to get it here, buddy. I swear to God, I'm not going to drive it no more. I promise you.
No, I got to.
Goddamn, Michael, please.
31 to 28. You 51 this way?
That's crazy, bro. I just passed it.
You just passed him?
Yeah, on
he didn't turn around?
No, he didn't. I swear to God, he didn't. Michael, I just swear to God, if you listen to me, bro, I swear to God.
I'm about to right now.
As a result, the scenario in which he finds himself is bewildering. As a result of the relatively tiny size of the organization, rumors are swiftly disseminated. Thus, Buck must approach with caution. It is possible for him to argue with the sheriff, gather proof that will demonstrate his innocence, or solicit the assistance of reliable friends and neighbors for the purpose of saving face and figuring out how to get out of this sticky situation. As Buck struggles to make his friend.
Let's go, Buck. Buck, I'm not playing this game.
What do you mean? I'm telling you the truth.
Nobody jumped out. God damn it! I'm hit on the foot!
Man, I'm trying to tell you something.
Ain't nobody jumped out, Buck.
Yes, they did. Kevin, did they
Stay
not?
out of this, Kevin!
Understand how his friend is connected to his truck. He finds himself in a difficult predicament. According to Buck's version of events, his traveling partner first assumed control of the vehicle, but then deserted them at a lake, leaving Buck with no other choice except to travel back home by himself. The truths of the current day, on the other hand, cast a harsh light on the circumstances of his life. In this day and age, the officer is correct in pointing out that Buck, rather than attempting to manage the matter on his own, could have requested assistance from anybody who possessed a valid driver's license.
Leave my family out of this, dog.
All I'm saying is, would she be proud of you for sticking that fucking taser to me when I was not even resisting when you done that?
Buck has a difficult dilemma on his hands since the law does not always take into account the full picture. Regardless of the facts, the officer is convinced that Buck committed a criminal offense. Buck, who was stuck between the harsh legal realities and the practical limits he experienced during that deadly journey, is naturally disappointed with this finding. He was on that trip where he experienced the limitations firsthand. The pursuit, though, didn't last long. The police said that Buck resisted so strongly that they had to use a taser to subdue him. The video resumes after Buck has been fully restrained and handcuffed, adding yet another charge to his already fairly lengthy list. And given how close everyone seems to be here, you can bet that this police chase will be the talk of the town. The officer put Buck in the patrol cruiser and returned with him to the station. Because of his intense anger, his return journey was a deeply personal one. Buck was arrested on many counts, including driving while ineligible and resisting arrest. The next instance is also fascinating. The police had stopped a car driven by a woman named Petra Edgerton for a broken brake light, and everything seemed okay at first. The traffic stop appeared ordinary at first, but then the police officer saw something odd.
ID badge?
ID badge for
Being a police officer.
See, this is what you're asking me all those questions.
Right.
Saying you stopped me for my right brake light.
So, if you're a police officer, you understand what probable cause is, right?
So what's the probable cause?
Your right brake light's out.
My right brake light wasn't out when you followed me out of the gas station.
Yeah, it is. It's out right now.
The car wasn't even on when you followed me out of the
Doesn't
gas
matter. You're driving with a brake light out on the streets, so it's an equipment
station.
violation.
You followed me out of the gas station.
I saw it when you were pulling out.
Petra was wearing a police badge around her neck. For some reason, the police officer didn't identify Petra as a fellow cop, and the fact that Petra's car had a broken brake light and her badge looked suspicious immediately sent off alarm bells. The cops' innate sense of investigation kicked in when they saw irregularities, and they decided to learn more. It was a suspicious moment that led to extensive inquiries into the unusual circumstances surrounding Petra and the appearance of that questionable police badge. The officer's worries increased as the encounter progressed, and he eventually stopped caring about the malfunctioning brake light.
Badge and a gun is an issue.
That has nothing to do with you being black. Are you a police officer or you're not a police officer?
Not a police officer.
You're not a police officer?
No.
So why would you go into Quick Trip and get free food with your badge and gun?
Because I'm an officer. You don't have to be a police officer to go in there. I've been doing it for 3 years.
It became evident that Petra's off-duty behavior was quite unusual for a police officer. Her closed-off, defensive posture and evasive answers sent up warning flags. A genuine police officer would react in a straightforward and expert manner, answering all queries with ease. The cop's gut feeling told him something was wrong and he acted on it. The matter had become more complex than a simple traffic stop, necessitating more inquiry to discover the facts. It was time to find out the truth behind Petra's odd conduct and the legitimacy of that police badge and put an end to the mysterious act.
So you're presenting yourself as a police officer with your badge and your gun on the side.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
I do understand that. But my issue with you is, you've seen that. You say because you've never seen me before.
So who do you work for?
Me out of the store.
Who do you work for? Who is DCS?
How long have you been working here?
12 years, 13 years.
How do you not know what DCS is?
There's, like I said, is it Department of Children's Services? What is it? Explain it to me.
I don't have to explain myself to you. If you're going to give me a ticket, tell like you give me a ticket.
Petra and seasoned police officer Brandy Green were deeply embroiled in a puzzling event that mystified many. After meticulous investigations, both admitted their roles in this bewildering episode. Brandy's candid confession had profound professional ramifications. Her disclosure of her involvement in the scheme led to an abrupt termination from her role at the DCS, shattering her previously unblemished service record.
Cool. Yeah, not really.
Not really. Are you okay?
Oh yeah, no, I'm good.
Your car's fucked up.
No, absolutely. Which I just...
On the other hand, Petra unveiled an audacious act of deception. She admitted to masquerading as a police officer, driven by her ulterior motives and ambitions. Her subterfuge, however, did not remain unchecked. The gravity of Petra's actions has thrust her into the legal spotlight, leading to a severe felony charge. If found guilty, she could find herself facing the cold bars of a cell for up to 5 years. This whole thing is a stark warning of how important it is to keep the law enforcement community's reputation and honesty intact. Not only is pretending to be a police officer a silly thing to do, but it is also a serious crime with serious repercussions. Such events show how important it is to stay alert and make sure that people who hurt the image of law enforcement get what they deserve. The morning of January 1, 2021, Corporal Scott Bertzik was a passenger in a vehicle that was involved in an accident. Officer Brooke Shutterly was astonished to find out that the driver was not only her superior, but also a close friend when she arrived at the scene. Brooke immediately inquired about Bertzik's health after recognizing him, and it was clear from their chat that they were well familiar with one another at this point. The manner in which Scott described the incident was straightforward, making it very evident that he was to blame for the collision. In order to determine whether or not it was proper for her to handle this situation, considering her personal relationship to Scott, Brooke felt it essential to contact her base before moving forward with the investigation. Concerned about the possibility of a conflict of interest, she raised her worries. Brooke proceeded to manage the issue after gaining clearance for her actions. Brooke became aware of indicators over the course of the talk that suggested Scott may have been under the influence of something. His speech was slurred, his responses were sluggish, and he had difficulty with his motor abilities. It was at this time that Brooke realized she needed to change her opinion of Scott, from that of her boss to that of a possible suspect. The actions of Scott was troubling, particularly when taking into account the possible unpredictability of an intoxicated individual, which posed an increased risk to Brooke as a female officer. When Scott noticed that Brooke was uncomfortable, he immediately apologized for the predicament. Scott's tone oscillated between comprehension and exasperation when Brooke told him that he couldn't smoke because he may be under investigation for driving under the influence of alcohol. In the middle of the critical circumstances, there was a brief exchange of lighter banter over Scott's desire to get a dog. In the end, another law enforcement officer came to administer field sobriety tests to Scott. Even though the test went on for quite some time, it was clear after only a few moments of observation that Scott was under the influence of alcohol or drugs. The police came to the conclusion that Scott had been drinking after reviewing the accumulating body of evidence against him. Scott voiced his disagreement with the decision to detain him, but he also accepted the possibility that there were other means by which the circumstance may have been improved. And that's all for this video. Subscribe if you want to watch more.